You know, when you decide you want to get physically fit, the mechanics of the whole process are, they're incredibly visible. Like you lift a heavier weight and your muscle literally grows.
Right, exactly. Or you run a mile every day and your resting heart rate drops.
Yeah, it's a completely tangible physical transaction. You can track it with your own eyes.
The input has this very direct, visible correlation to the output. It's binary, really.
Mm-hmm.
And because you can actually see it happening in real time, it's highly motivating to just keep going.
Exactly. But then, you step into the world of personal finance and the whole dynamic completely flips. You put money into an account, you pay your bills on time, you try your absolute hardest to be responsible, but
But at the end of the month, the financial muscle hasn't grown at all.
right, it hasn't grown at all. I mean, it's kind of like trying to fill a bucket that has an invisible hole in the bottom.
Hmm.
You just keep pouring water in like your paycheck, and somehow it just vanishes before you can even measure it.
Yeah, it is the ultimate invisible drain. We have this built-in societal expectation that our financial fitness will just naturally improve as we get older and work hard.
Which is definitely not always the case.
Oh, not at all, because without a visible mechanism or, a conscious framework, our potential wealth usually just evaporates into the ether of daily conveniences and hidden expenses.
So true. And that is exactly what we are getting into today. We are taking a 2026 breakdown from Money Hub Channel 24 to figure out why we are constantly trying to fill that leaky bucket and, more importantly, how to actually plug the hole.
That's a great source.
Yeah, the video is called Top 5 Simple Saving Plans for Big Life Goals and Financial Success. And our mission for you today is very straightforward. We're going to deconstruct these 5 distinct strategies from the source so you can find the specific tool that actually fits your unique psychology and your lifestyle.
Because, budgeting usually sounds like a punishment. It sounds like this restrictive diet where you just can't have any fun, which naturally brings up a lot of anxiety for people.
Oh, totally. Just the word budget makes people tense up.
Exactly. But the real secret to the strategies outlined in this source material isn't deprivation at all. It is about creating smart, sustainable saving systems.
Systems being the key word.
Right. It's about designing a reality where reaching your big life goals, whether that is buying a home, starting a family, or looking ahead to retirement, it all happens systematically, almost as a natural byproduct of the framework itself.
I love that. The word systems is doing a lot of heavy lifting there, and that is a great thing. Trying to white-knuckle your way to wealth using sheer willpower is just exhausting.
It really is.
So let's zoom out and start by looking at the biggest, most famous macro framework of them all to see how it holds up in today's economy. The source material kicks things off with the classic 50-30-20 rule.
Ah, yes. This is the absolute cornerstone of traditional budgeting. The mechanics are highly structured, but theoretically very simple to grasp. You divide your after-tax income into 3 distinct categories. You spend 50% on your absolute needs, 30% on your wants, and you save the remaining 20% for your future goals or debt payoff.
Needs, wants, and future. It has a great ring to it. And the source notes that this plan is historically effective because it provides a clear, easy structure. It prevents overspending while explicitly leaving room for enjoyment.
That is the key part.
Yeah, that 30% for wants is basically a built-in pressure release valve.
Yeah.
It prevents the financial equivalent of a crash diet.
Exactly. It acknowledges the human element.
Wow.
You aren't a machine designed just to pay bills. I mean, you want to go to a concert, buy a coffee, or take a weekend trip.
Right?
If a budget doesn't accommodate that reality, you will inevitably rebel against it and go on a spending binge.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because, wait, set aside a full 20% for savings in 2026?
I know, it sounds steep.
When rent and groceries are just astronomical, trying to squeeze your actual life into a neat 50-30-20 split feels, well, it feels completely detached from reality for a lot of people.
It really does.
If half your paycheck goes to rent alone, how are you supposed to fit utilities, car insurance, and food into that exact same 50% bucket?
What's fascinating here is how the source material directly addresses that exact economic friction. They recognize that clinging to the old math in a new economy just makes people feel like they are failing.
Right, which just leads to giving up.
Exactly. So they introduce a highly practical adaptation for the modern era, which is the 70-20-10 variation.
Okay, let's break those modified numbers down.
So in this adapted version, you allocate 70% of your income to your needs, 20% to your wants, and 10% to your savings.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, by shifting that baseline, you validate the reality of modern housing costs, rising utilities, and, food inflation.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That is huge.
It is. You give yourself permission to spend more on essentials without feeling guilty while still laying a strong financial foundation step by step.
That feels like a massive exhale. Suddenly, you aren't failing at personal finance just because your rent takes up a larger chunk of your paycheck.
Exactly.
You are just operating on a modified framework that actually fits the world you live in.
The underlying logic the source is pushing here is that the rigid percentage itself matters far less than the awareness it generates. I mean, the true goal is remaining hyper-aware of where your money flows.
Right. The tracking is the point.
Yes. If you can only manage 10% for savings right now, that is still infinitely better than zero. And as you become more disciplined, or perhaps your income increases, you can always adjust those dials again.
That makes total sense.
This method ensures you are continuously moving toward important goals, like building an emergency fund or saving for a down payment, regardless of the exact ratio you start with.
It's a really great high-level map, but here is the friction point with tracking percentages across 3 different buckets, right? It requires active, continuous discipline.
It definitely does.
You have to constantly look at a purchase and evaluate, is this a need or a want? And frankly, human error and temptation are really powerful forces.
Oh, absolutely.
So if active tracking requires too much willpower, the logical next step is to remove willpower from the equation entirely. I mean, how do we build systems that just do the heavy lifting for us in the background?
You lean into automation. And the Money Hub Channel 24 breakdown highlights 2 specific strategies for this. There's the pay yourself first model and micro-investing.
Okay, let's look at the pay yourself first model because it really flips the traditional script entirely.
It does.
Usually the cycle goes like this. We pay our bills, we buy our groceries, we go out on the weekend, and then at the very end of the month, we look at whatever is left over and think, oh, I'll transfer that to savings.
And the problem with that traditional approach is that money expands to fill the space available. Like, if it sits in your checking account, you will find a reason to spend it.
You always do.
Yeah, by the end of the month, there's absolutely nothing left to save.
But with Pay Yourself First, you set up automatic transfers the very moment your paycheck hits your account.
Yes, right away.
A specific portion goes straight into a savings or investment fund before you can even see it in your day-to-day checking account. You don't have to decide to save it because the decision is just made for you.
You literally commit to your future before anything else. The source points out that by automating this process, you basically eliminate the temptation to spend that money on non-essentials.
Because it's not even there.
Exactly, because you never felt like you had it in the first place. You adjust your lifestyle to whatever is left over rather than trying to adjust your savings to your lifestyle.
Okay, so let's look at the other side of the automation coin, which is the micro-investing roundup plan.
Yes.
The source specifically mentions apps like Acorns or Capital. Most of us probably know the basic mechanics here. You buy something, and the app rounds the charge up to the nearest dollar, sweeping that extra change into an investment account. But what's really compelling isn't the math of the spare change, it's the behavioral shift.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, both pay yourself first and micro-investing succeed because they deeply understand human psychology. Specifically, the concept of decision fatigue.
Oh, decision fatigue is so real.
It is. Willpower isn't just a character trait. It is a finite resource. It is like a battery. If you have to make a conscious, painful choice to save money every single time you open your wallet, eventually your battery depletes.
Yeah, and then you just give up.
Exactly. You get tired, and you make the easier choice, which is usually spending.
That's such a clever workaround. It's basically sneaking financial vegetables into your daily spending smoothie.
I love that analogy.
Right. You are drinking this delicious fruit smoothie, which represents your daily spending habits, and you don't even taste the spinach, which is that 25 cents slipping out of your checking account. You are getting all the essential financial nutrients and building compounding wealth without even realizing it.
Yeah, and corporate America already uses micro frictions against us all the time. I mean, think about how frictionless Apple Pay is, or how easy it is to forget a monthly subscription.
Oh, completely. It's dangerously easy.
Right. They remove the friction so you spend more without thinking.
Yeah.
Microinvesting just flips that dynamic in your favor. It uses that same frictionless environment to actually build your wealth.
It's the ultimate set it and forget it strategy. You keep living your life, spending as usual, and these automatic systems just quietly stack bricks in the background.
Exactly.
As your income grows and the market does its thing, that compounding wealth scales up with zero additional effort.
And the source emphasizes that for people who really struggle to save or who absolutely hate the very idea of a spreadsheet, this is a game changer
Oh, for sure.
because you don't perceive the sacrifice. You don't actively miss 25 cents here or, an automated direct deposit there. It completely reduces your overall money stress.
Passive invisible wealth building is fantastic. You just wake up one day, check an app, and suddenly you have a down payment for a car.
It feels like magic.
It does. But let's be honest, some people actually crave that active dopamine hit. Like, they want to be hands-on and feel a sense of achievement week to week.
Yes, absolutely.
But they also don't want to be terrified by the massive dollar amounts required to reach big life goals.
Right. Which brings us to the source's exploration of gamification. Specifically, looking through the lens of the 52-week money challenge.
Okay, the concept here is all about starting incredibly small and scaling up over the course of a year.
Yes.
Week 1, you actively transfer a single solitary $1 bill into savings. Week 2, you move $2. Week 3, $3. You just keep increasing the deposit by $1 every week until week 52, where you put away $52.
And by the end of the year, following this gradual incremental scale, you end up saving $1,378.
Which is pretty crazy when you think about it.
It is. It is a surprisingly substantial sum generated from tiny, seemingly insignificant actions.
And the source also outlines an aggressive variation for people who have a bit more wiggle room, called the Fiverr Challenge.
Yeah, the Fiverr variation works on the exact same escalating principle, but uses multiples of 5. So week 1 is $5, week 2 is 10, week 3 is 15.
And that adds up way faster.
Oh, definitely. If you maintain that track, you yield up to $7,000 by the end of the year. It provides a lot of flexibility depending on what your specific goal actually is.
Okay, but does putting away a single dollar bill in week 1 actually do anything for your financial future? I mean, when we were talking about massive life goals like buying a house or retiring comfortably, what is one literal dollar achieving?
I get that.
It feels like a financial parlor trick.
Well, if you only look at the mathematical value of that single dollar,
Yeah.
you would be absolutely right. It wouldn't do much. But that ignores the underlying mechanism of why this strategy is so effective. It's not about the dollar. It is about the psychology of momentum and overcoming what behavioral economists call activation energy.
The psychology of momentum, how does that play out here?
The source highlights this method specifically for people who experience paralysis when faced with large financial tasks. If I tell you to save $1,300 today, your brain immediately focuses on the loss.
Right, it feels impossible.
It focuses on the deprivation of giving up $1,300. It's daunting, so you just do nothing. But if I tell you to save $1, there's absolutely zero friction. It is so easy that you do it immediately.
You win the game on day 1, you get an immediate hit of accomplishment.
If you get a dopamine hit from crossing it off your list,
Yeah.
then week 2, $2. Still completely painless. What you are actually doing is building a habit under the radar.
Wow.
You are easing your brain into a new identity. You stop being someone who can't save, and you start identifying as a saver.
That's a huge shift.
It really is. By the time you reach the $40 or $50 weeks later in the year, you've become so accustomed to the behavioral loop of putting money away that it feels completely natural. It turns an anxiety-inducing chore into an achievable game.
You are literally tricking your brain into liking financial responsibility. It's the gamification of wealth.
Exactly.
But let's look at a very real scenario where playing a game just isn't enough. What if you want to do the 52-week challenge, or you want to set up the 7-0-20-10 rule, but your cash flow is just an absolute mess?
Yeah, that happens to a lot of people.
Like, you can't even find the dollar for week 1 because your money just seemingly vanishes the second it hits your bank account. When the light strategies aren't cutting it, it is time to bring out the heavy machinery.
And in the realm of personal finance, the heavy machinery is undoubtedly zero-based budgeting.
Yeah. The source mentions that this method was popularized by major apps like You Need a Budget, affectionately known as Y&A, and Every Dollar. The core concept is militant intentionality.
Militant is a good word for it.
Every single dollar you earn gets a highly specific job at the very start of the month.
Right. Before the month even begins, you look at your total expected income and you allocate it to specific, predefined categories.
Every category you can think of.
Yes. Savings, rent, groceries, debt payoff, even a coffee fund. You assign a job to every dollar until your income, minus your planned expenses, equals exactly zero. There is no ambiguous leftover money sitting around waiting to be impulsively spent. Every cent has a purpose.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because looking at this from the outside, zero-based budgeting sounds like you are being forced to become a micromanager of your own life.
It definitely sounds like that.
You have to interrogate every single dollar. What are you doing today, dollar? You're going to the electricity bill. Fine. What about you? You're going to the vacation fund. Isn't micromanaging every single transaction totally exhausting?
This raises an important question about what is actually more exhausting. Is it managing your money up front or constantly worrying about your money after the fact?
Oh, that is a great distinction.
While zero-based budgeting definitely sounds restrictive on paper, the source argues it actually provides the ultimate liberation because it shifts your perspective.
How so?
Well, most people track their money after it is already gone. They look at their credit card statement at the end of the month, see a massive balance, and think, wow, I spent how much on dining out?
It's an autopsy of your finances. You are just studying the damage.
Exactly. It's an autopsy. Zero-based budgeting is proactive, not reactive. You aren't tracking, you are planning. It forces intentionality, and according to the source, this is the most effective way to hunt down what they call invisible expenses that constantly drain your potential.
Okay, let's walk through a realistic scenario of an invisible expense, because we all have them hiding in the shadows of our bank statements.
We do. Imagine you sit down to give every dollar a job. In doing that audit, you realize you are passively paying $15 for a premium music service you barely use, $20 for a gym you haven't visited in months, and another $40 on random app subscriptions.
It adds up so fast.
It does. That is $75 a month, bleeding out of your account entirely unnoticed.
That's $75 a month. If we just run the simple math on that, that is $900 a year.
Wow.
Over 5 years, you are talking about $4,500 just evaporating from that leaky bucket we talked about earlier.
Once you have that total zero-based awareness, it becomes incredibly easy to eliminate those unnecessary costs and reassign those dollars to a job that actually serves you, like an emergency fund.
That makes total sense.
Furthermore, it changes the psychological weight of a purchase. If every dollar is a sign, spending an extra $50 on dinner means you have to actively take that $50 away from your vacation fund.
Oh, right. You feel the trade-off immediately.
Yes. The source emphasizes that taking command of every dollar builds the absolute strongest sense of financial discipline of any method we've discussed. It puts you firmly in the driver's seat.
So, what does this all mean? We have journeyed through 5 completely different landscapes of wealth building today, all pulled from Money Hub Channel 24's 2026 breakdown.
We covered a lot of ground.
We really did. And what is so striking is how different the psychological approaches are. You might be the kind of person who needs the broad, forgiving strokes of the adapted 70210 rule.
Or maybe you need the invisible hands-off magic of micro-investing to completely bypass your own willpower.
Exactly. Perhaps you thrive on the gamified momentum of the 52-week challenge. Or maybe you are ready to wield the ultimate proactive control of zero-based budgeting.
The underlying thread woven through the entire source material is that there is no single correct framework.
Right.
The only universal truth is the absolute need for consistency and the willingness to take that very first step today. It is about finding the specific psychological tool that removes the friction between you and your goals, implementing it, and letting time do the heavy lifting.
Before we wrap up this deep dive, I know you always like to leave us with something to chew on. Based on everything we've unpacked today, what is the lingering thought you have for the listener?
It's something that really struck me when we were discussing the automated apps and the micro-investing algorithms.
Okay, I'm listening.
As we increasingly rely on these brilliant digital tools that silently whisk our money away into savings like rounding up our coffees, auto-drafting our paychecks, do we risk entirely dissociating from the actual feeling of earning and saving?
Oh, that's interesting.
Right. If wealth building becomes completely invisible, working quietly in the background without our active participation, do we lose our emotional connection to the value of a dollar?
Wow.
Or, on the flip side, does removing that daily friction simply set us free to focus our mental energy on actually living out those big life goals?
Does the invisibility of modern money make us numb to it, or does it set us free? That is definitely something to ponder the next time your app rounds up your morning coffee.
Yep.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We encourage you to take a look at your own habits, pick just one of these 5 tools, even if it's just moving a single dollar for week 1, and experiment with it this week. Because financial fitness shouldn't be a leaky bucket you are constantly trying to fill in the dark. It is time to step into the light, patch the hole, and start building your future. We'll catch you next time.